So you've just found a vintage computer like this one from the late 90s or early 2000s. Could be a great Windows 98 gaming PC. You bring it home. What's the first thing you do? Do you plug it in and try it out, or do you take a more cautious approach? That's going to be the subject of this video coming up right now on Retro Hack Shack After Hours. Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Retro Hack Shack After Hours. I guess technically this is another e-waste Wednesday video because, like most of the stuff I feature on the second channel, things do come from e-waste quite often, as did this computer. But before I get too far into the episode, I do want to give a big shout out to all my patrons. Thank you so much. If your name doesn't appear and you think it should, just reach out and let me know, because sometimes it's hard to keep up with changes to the patron roles and YouTube membership and whatnot. So just let me know if you don't see your name. So I got this computer a while back at e-waste, and it was kind of one of those afterthought videos where I knew this was going to go to scrap, but it's a pretty cool machine, right? It's a Gateway. It's got a CD-ROM, it's got a 3.5-inch floppy drive, it says designed for Windows 98, so that kind of places it in an era where obviously, you know, late 90s, early 2000s maybe, and so I wanted to go ahead and at least take a look at it and make it available, perhaps on my eBay page if it's not something that I want to keep. But anyway, I got this and was taking it apart, and I found something very interesting inside. Now, many times, people that I run into either at the e-waste places or, you know, various places, the first thing they'll want to do when they pick up a piece of vintage electronics is plug it in just to see if it's still working. Wouldn't that be cool? Well, I always discourage people from doing that, and this is an example of exactly why I discourage people from doing that. Best case, something like this, an old computer, you're going to get a reefa that blows up and stinks up the place wherever you're at, whether it's at home, in the garage, or in my case, maybe at the e-waste place where someone is using one of the benches there to test out a piece of equipment like this just to see if it works. Now, there may be some, if you know what you're doing, there may be some exceptions to this. I would say, you know, a lot of times I am even guilty of doing that just because I'm not afraid of what might happen or whether it's going to work or not. I just want to see, is this worth the investment, as minuscule as it is at my e-waste places, to put this thing in the car and carry it home and lug it around, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if you know what you're doing, perhaps there's some exceptions. But for those who might not be as aware, I think there's some real dangers in plugging things in and turning them on when you don't know what the state of the electronics is on the inside of the piece of equipment. I talked about this once before when I was testing out a power supply, and I opened it up and turns out there were wires cut in there and just kind of left dangling. Of course, there are electrical safety precautions. There are breakers in the wall and things like that, but those don't always protect you from getting a nasty shock with something like this, or perhaps even starting a fire in the equipment itself. So let me go ahead and take this apart, and I'll show you what I found inside this wonderful piece of vintage computer history. So I've already pulled some of these things out, but the first thing I noticed that was kind of sticking up out of the sound card over here was this cable, and of course I could see it was cut. Now, this isn't going to cause any sort of electrical shock or anything like that, but it was obvious that someone had been in here before, number one, messing around with things, and that this cable was cut. So I fished around and I found the other pieces of the cable, and at first I didn't really think much about it. I just thought, well, somebody had been in here and, you know, for whatever reason, they didn't want this cable like this in here, so they cut it off at some point, no big deal, right? So then I started looking around a little bit closer, and that's when I noticed some wires down here that had also been cut. And of course, these are the power supply wires. These go to one of these big 4-pin Molex connectors, and these were cut off and just left dangling here in the case, which is never a good idea, of course. And now you're starting to see my concern for this particular computer, and why I'm glad I didn't turn it on first is because this could be dangerous. Like I said, it could cause a short for sure on the electronics and damage those, but it could also cause a short in the power supply. Worst case, something catches on fire or something like that. Doubtful that that would happen, but it could happen, and that's what you want to avoid. So I'm not exactly sure what happened, but there are more and more signs of damage. Somebody has been in here with a pair of clippers. I did find the other end of that connector that had been clipped off. Here it is. It was plugged into the hard drive. I don't know if someone was trying to get in here and perhaps take the hard drive out and erase it. Sometimes they'll send these computers to like a maintenance crew or something, and they'll say, hey, we need to make sure the hard drive is, either has a hole drilled in it or whatever. So they go in here and cause all sorts of damage. I saw that kind of damage in a Mac one time where it had just been ripped apart because somebody thought that on a 40-year-old Macintosh computer, there might be secure data that needed to be erased. I don't know. But in this case, the more I looked around, the more I see signs of damage, and it's damage to the power cords. Here's a 12-volt line that has a big cut in it. They were not able to cut all the way through it. And on this power connector up here, same thing. It looks like they started to try to cut through the wires, but either couldn't cut through them or whatever. These wires, I think, are still intact. They don't feel like they were actually able to cut through the wire, just the plastic covering, but that's enough to expose those 12-volt lines and cause shorts. So I think this kind of proves my point here that, and I know most of you watching this probably wouldn't do this, but you really should be careful when you're testing out this old equipment, because you don't know what the person who had this equipment previously has done to it. And yeah, you could be opening yourself up to a world of hurt and certainly a world of damage to your electronics. So then I thought, well, it would still be good to go ahead and clean up these wires, test for shorts, and see if this thing is still working. And that's when I found this. So this is, of course, the header pin that goes off to the, the LED lights, the power switch, and so forth, probably the speaker as well. And yeah, even this has been cut in weird ways, like only some of the wires have been cut. Why would you cut some wires and not others? I don't know. So I really hope I can get this thing working again well enough to perhaps pass it on to someone else. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can reconnect most of these wires in a way that we can test this thing out and make sure it's all working, or see if it's all still working. And yeah, it should be, but again, safety first, guys. Just be careful. All right, well, I decided to pull the whole harness here, a wiring harness, out to check for continuity and things like that. I thought it would just be easier. So I pulled the whole cover off the PC, took this hard drive thing out, which I needed to do, and I got the harness out. And this wiring harness kind of ran up through the hard drive cage back behind it here and plugged in. And when I pulled it out, I saw that there was even more broken wires. You can see this, probably the power on LED here was cut as well, but that was cut way up inside here. Like it would have been something like this. So you really would have had to reach up in there with tiny hands to be able to cut this wire. And why would you do that? I just don't know what happened here. Did somebody give their kids some wire cutters and say, hey kid, go to town on this thing? I just don't know why these wires would be cut so far up, or why only some of the wires would be cut off. If you have any ideas about what's going on here or how this could have happened, leave them in the comments below. But this thing is just really, really weird the way some of these wires have been cut. Anyway, time to get back to trying to put this thing back together. And while I work on fixing all these broken wires, it's time to thank the sponsor of this episode, PCBWay. PCBWay has been a sponsor of my channel for years, and with good reason. They offer low-cost, high-quality prototype PCBs, assembly services, CNC milling, 3D printing, and even more. They also have a great community site where you can order projects on demand. So check out PCBWay, and I thank them for their support of the Retro Hack Shack. All right, well, I've been hard at work doing bodges on these wires. Of course, if you were going to do this permanently to keep these, you'd probably do a better job. Either use shrink wrap or rerun these wires all together. What I did was I just used a little electrical tape and soldered the wires together, covered them up with electrical tape so they didn't short, and that's good enough for now. I probably not going to keep this machine, but I do want to make sure that everything is electrically isolated and things work. So I went ahead and tested for shorts. There was no shorts on the system. I also protected the dangling wires, but because these other wires up here were also kind of cut and stuff, I checked everything for shorts. There's no shorts on the system right now. So we should be good to go and see if these lights are working and if the power button is working. The other thing I also did was I put in a fresh coin cell battery, because I've seen where if those go truly dead on systems of this vintage around 2000 or so, the system might not even power up at all. You might not get any lights, the power button might not work, etc., etc. So I went ahead and put a new coin cell battery in here. Everything's plugged in. Let's go ahead and turn it on and see what happens. Okay, so I saw the power button light up. Or maybe this is the power button, I don't know. One of them lit up. The other one came on when I pressed the button. Fan is on, and we're getting system beeps, several different system beeps. So that's probably because the hard drive is not powered up. So yeah, let's go ahead and see if we can turn this off. Yep, turns right off. So I must be waiting at the BIOS screen, the post screen, and pressing that, of course, would immediately turn the system off at that point. Let me get everything put back together and we can see what happens with this system, whether it boots up or not. Okay, before I turn this back on, I think it's about time we talked about what this actually is. I don't think I did that at the beginning. But this is a course of Gateway Select, as you saw. It's got a model number on the back. I think I took a picture of it earlier. And it is a Cell K7 600 machine. So this is a slot A processor. It's an AMD processor. It's an AMD motherboard, of course. It needs to be to support this. And I can see down here on the label, it says AMD Athlon. And I think that 600 refers to the fact that this is a 600 megahertz processor. So kind of slow, I would say, comparatively to what was available, what you could get eventually for this particular machine. So might be able to do a nice upgrade on this if you wanted to. I can see a couple of sticks of RAM in there as well. One says 64 meg. The other one says 128 meg. And let's just take a quick look at the cards to see what kind of cards we have in here as well. Okay, first up, we have the video card. It is an AGP VGA video card. It's a NVIDIA Riva TNT2 64 card. Nothing too extraordinary at this time when this came out. I think there were better cards out in the market. You can buy these aftermarket for about 25 bucks or something like that these days, but certainly good enough for Windows 98 to play some Windows 98 games. I think this will do quite well. And here's the sound card. Again, nothing extremely special. It's a Creative Lab Sound Blaster 16 PCI card. And this would have been fine back in the day to play your games, although it's not going to have surround sound and all that kind of fancy stuff that was just starting to come out back then. But yeah, this would do just fine for your PC speakers playing your Windows 98 games. Next up, we have your modem. Of course, you got to have your modem so you can get online with AOL or what have you back in the day. It does look like it has some audio options, so maybe this is one of those fancy modems that came with like a voicemail option or something like that. I believe those were coming out about this time, but not much you can do with it today, unfortunately. And last but not least, we have a network card. So I don't know if this came standard at this point with these machines, and maybe it was just sold into the business market and it came with this. I don't know, but this is a run-of-the-mill but perfectly capable Linksys network card. All right, so I've gone ahead and hooked up a keyboard and mouse, and I'm using, of course, my Hidman, which is the device I sell on my website that converts USB keyboard into either PS2 or AT or XT compatible or serial for the mouse. Any of those will work, and it works great. And I love my new keyboard here, my new mechanical keyboard, because it works great, sounds great. And so this lets me use this on old computers like this. And I've got everything hooked up, monitors hooked up. So let's power it on and see what happens. Got a signal, so that's good. And there's the video card BIOS and 3 beeps. Okay, Gateway logo, this is looking great. Sure enough, we've got an Athlon 600, just like we thought. 200 megs of RAM, just like we thought. And CMOS settings are wrong, of course, because we changed out the battery and that other one didn't have any charge anyway. So let's just go ahead and run setup and see what happens. This automatically comes up with January 1st, 1996. Although I think this came out around 2000, so maybe this is just an old BIOS or something. Correct me if I'm wrong if you had one of these in your history and you know exactly what it is. Let's go ahead and make sure everything is set up correctly. Floppy drive is enabled. That's good because we have one. And IDE options enabled. Can we detect the primary IDE master? IDE device auto configured, but it's not telling us anything. Yeah, we want auto configured. So I guess it's going to do that on boot, maybe when we boot up. I thought it would allow me to scan for it and tell me it found it, but okay, let's just leave it like that and see what happens. And let's make sure the boot options are set to boot from the floppy first, and they are not. They're set to boot from the CD-ROM first, then the floppy, and then Floptical, if you have that, and then the hard drive, which is what I want, because if the hard drive doesn't work, we're going to need a way to boot this up. By the way, I can hear the hard drive, and it's sounding completely normal. That doesn't mean anything, but the heads aren't crashing. It's not doing any crazy stuff, so that hard drive might actually work. Mouse is installed, so yeah, I think we're ready to go. To F10 and enter. Whoops, exit saving changes. Yes, enter. Hopefully, this will boot into Windows 98. Let me hook up some speakers so we can see if this thing makes any noise. And by the way, this is a good time as any to let you know that I've switched over to using these Bluetooth dongles that you can set for transmit and receive. And it's saved me a lot of headache for the most part, trying to find the cable for the speakers and everything.
Power on. Wait for connection. Bluetooth connection success.
All right, hopefully that is connected successfully. So let's try this again and see if we get a boot. And hopefully some sound. Okay, checked the floppy drive. That sounds completely normal. Oh, it's booting. I can hear the hard drive clicking away. Here we go. Oh, somebody upgraded it. It's Windows XP now. This may be a little bit more trouble to crack into if they've got a password set up on it than Windows 98, but we can still do it. And I don't know if you can see this, but the lights are certainly working over here, the ones we fixed the cables on. Should get some sound here in just a second. Of course, I forgot to put my mic on when I took it off. Got a cursor. Mouse is working. Come on, give us that startup sound. While we're waiting, the nice thing about having the hard drive work is that I don't have to go load drivers onto a new installation of Windows 98 or XP. The drivers should all be up and running, I assume, for these particular cards. And some people online were saying they were having a hard time finding the drivers, and I agree. They can be hard to find, but people have documented them. They're just not as easy to find as some other computers. Come on. Come on. My sugar's high because I forgot to take some insulin after lunch. Let's see if I have any email. Oh, here's some comments on my last video. Even back in 2000, I would say there's something wrong. All right, well, it's been about 15 minutes. There's no more activity on the hard drive. So I think let's try to boot into safe mode, see if that does anything. Here we go. So we can either log in as an administrator or we can log in as a regular user. Let's log in as an administrator. Time or date is invalid. Okay. Running in safe mode. So I'm not hearing anything out of the speakers. I'm just hearing something off of the internal speaker on the board. But here we go. We've got Broderbund, Norton Antivirus. There's a problem right there. American greeting cards, Adobe Reader, Photo Slate, whatever that is. But it was able to boot into safe mode. So we can see this is a 19 gig hard drive with 3.45 gig used. And I am noticing some clicking going on in the hard drive, which is not good. Well, let's just try to reboot this thing. Sometimes starting into safe mode, and then coming back into rebooting it into the normal mode sometimes works. Let me see if I can shut off anything that is set to auto start. Maybe we can help this thing along a little bit. All right, let's see what's going on in startup. Let's turn most of these things off. I think I can do that if I do selective startup. Let's just uncheck load startup items completely. Leave everything else on. System INI, Win INI, and system services. And let's try that, see what happens. Oh, I don't think we got this far before. Well, I want to be patient, but this is just ridiculous. Let's run check disk on this drive and see if that is able to fix anything. Well, check disk ran and didn't really seem to find any faults. And it really cranked through there, so problem might not be or it might not be a bad disk. Could be something else. Let's see. Seems to be running better this time. Hard drive's acting more normal. It's not stopping and starting like it was. Aha! Okay. This is looking way better. Hard drive's flying along now. Hey, we get the startup sound. Speakers are working. And of course we get warned that we made changes to the way Windows starts up. That's totally fine. We'll just say okay. And we're going to keep this. I don't want to load the startup item, so we'll just keep it that way, except without restart. Still loading a few things, but I think it's pretty much done. All right, so here we are. Yeah, Adobe Reader 6, American Greetings, SBC Self-Support Tool, ACDC. What's that? Something about new product features for ACD, whatever that is. We don't want that. Did you know you can turn tips off? Yes, you can. Here's some stuff in here. Maybe this looks like it's using Internet Explorer. Maybe this was something for a camera, to load a camera application, or to transfer pictures, because there's an acquire here. I wonder if this is for a scanner. ACD scanner, maybe? It certainly looks like that's what this is. Yeah, ad page, designer. I bet this was for a scanner or a camera, something like that. Other than that, there's not a ton of stuff on here. This Lexmark printer, there's a USB card reader, games, but just the normal stuff in there, nothing amazing or cool. So yeah, it's got Microsoft Office, and that's about it. So this was either a work PC, or I don't know, someone loaded this on here and then never really used it that much. All right, well, I've got all the panels put back on the PC. Everything's hooked back up and ready to go. And I think the only thing we need to do is play a period-accurate game. And I think Diablo 2 would be just the thing for it. I've got a copy of Diablo 2 and I've got it installed. So let's go ahead and fire it up and see if it works. Oh, got to put the play disc in the CD-ROM. There we go. Hopefully there's some good startup sounds with Diablo 2. I can't remember. I'm right in the middle of a game myself that I should really finish. I haven't played it in a while. I played through the first level, but... Oh yeah, there's some sounds. Looks like I've got a scratch on this monitor. Hopefully that's not permanent. Here we go. What a game. What a difference from Diablo 1 if you've played through the series. Each progression up through now Diablo 4 has gotten so much better in terms of graphics and presentation and story and stuff. Oh, this is looking great. Look at the wide screen, too. Somebody's getting tortured.
So, Marius, at last I find you. No, I should have known you'd traveled in disguise. They're always watching. I've been searching for you for 5 days at the Rogue Citadel seems.
Okay, let's go ahead and skip the cinematics as much as cool as they are. Let's go ahead and... Oh, there's the menu. Single player, please. Barbarian, Necromancer, Amazon, Sorceress, Paladin. Oh, let's do Paladin. Character name, Retro HS. All right, there we are.
Good day.
Good day. Good day, Werv.
Well met, noble paladin.
Well met.
It's been a while since I've seen any of your kind in the West. It would be an honor to aid you in any way that I can. Lord of Terror walks the world again.
He walks the world again. No. Evil. Evil. Oh, I've got a sword. I've got a shield. I love the... Can I get the chicken? I love the music on this and stuff. The rain. So cool. Entering the blood more.
Cleanse this wilderness.
I just want to attack something. Ooh, there's a chest. Oh, there's something. Get him. Nice. Nice. Look at all these chests over here. There's a sword. Oh, it's a club. Healing potion. I need that. Quail rat. Get him. Get him. Yeah, you're dead. Oh yeah, no problem. This Paladins is pretty good here. Well, I think that's going to do it. I mean, yeah, there's not much more for me to really go over. It runs this game great, of course, and perfect for, like I said, a Windows 98 gaming PC, or in this case, a Windows 2000 gaming PC. Has no problems playing any of this. So yeah, I think I'll play this for a little bit, but you don't need to watch me play this. Just take my word for it. It's running great. And so this episode is really more of a warning than anything. The PC was just working, of course, once we made sure that there was no dangerous electrical problems inside. So word of warning, if you're one of those people that just likes to go out and plug things in, take your chances, well, best of luck to you. I like to go a little bit more cautious and open things up and see what the current status of things inside, because you never know when some kid has been turned loose with some cutters on the inside of a PC case, and that could really ruin your day. If you want to see more E-Waste Wednesday videos like this, you can just click on one of these videos right over here. I'll put a couple over there that I think you'll really enjoy, and we'll see you in one of those videos next. Bye-bye.
End of line.